and the crimes thereon. Zeigler is a former Associate Director, Office in Trade and Manufacturing Policy in the White House under President Donald J. Trump. Having served from 2019 to 2021, Zeigler holds a BS in Economics from St. Louis University, and he's affiliated with the Intercollegiate Studies Institute. He lives in Illinois with his wife and sons. Please welcome Garret Zeigler.
So good afternoon. Thank you for showing up, even though the weather is less than optimal. I came from Arkansas this morning. We had a talk yesterday with Carrie Lake. Part of my goal for the next 18 months is to go to all 50 states. I'm 13 in. I've actually been in New Jersey already. In April, I was at the Katie, what's the name of the bar we were at?
Green Knoll Grill.
Green Knoll Grill in Bridgewater, I believe. And so I'm going around the country spreading the gospel, lowercase g. And the gospel that I'm alluding to is the contents of a device that was abandoned by the U.S. President's son. It's totally confirmed that he abandoned this. In fact, part of this 644-page report is talking about the characteristics and background of the American First Family. And part of that is we discovered, based on email notifications, that the President's son activated Find My iPhone 57 times over a 3-year period. Okay, this is somebody who was mercilessly addicted to crack cocaine. And so I've never done crack cocaine, but I've read a lot about its effects on the human brain, and it stands to reason that you forget things, right? And so it's not inconceivable at all that he would have forgotten the device, because he brought 3 devices into the repair shop. And so my research group, it's about a dozen guys in total. A couple of us work full-time on this. We took over a year to write the dossier. But we were enthralled with the data, because never in American history has there been this much primary source material from a sitting U.S. First Family. After the dude leaves office, the archives get opened and everything gets dug through, right? My cousin was Nixon's press secretary, and you can go look at each and every single thing that Ron Zeigler produced while he was in office. But guess what? It took until the 90s for you to be able to do that. What is unique about this document, it's why we're being sued by the attorney for the President's son, Kevin Morris, who is worth about $100 million. He's an entertainment lawyer who brokered the South Park streaming deal. He's a terribly degenerate and corrupt human being. But he's suing us basically on behalf of Hunter. They don't have us on defamation because nothing in this dossier has proven to be false. So what they're doing is they're saying that I intentionally inflicted emotional distress on a 59-year-old male who has $100 million in a private jet. In fact, one of the causes of action is that we use a scraper tool to monitor plane rides, right? So we get a notification every time his jet, it's a 2001 Dassault, it's about 7 to 10 mil. Every time his jet is in the air, we get a notification about where he's going. And he said that this was against the law. It's not. But the reason why we're so interested in this guy, and the reason why I'm starting out here, is because we know that this guy is at the heart of the current corruption. So a lot of this dossier goes into what happened when Joey was VP and everything else. But right now, while we're all standing and sitting here, the President's son is on paper an artist, and they expect you to believe that his doodles, and not only his doodles, but the prints of his doodles, so not even the originals, right? It's hilarious once you think about it. Not even the originals, but the prints are going for $75,000 a piece, right? It's like a fourth of my house. It's ridiculous. It's a joke. So why do I bring this up in the context of Kevin Morris? Well, Kevin Morris is the one who introduced him to all these big art dealers, and George Burgess and everything else. So we're glued in to this figure. In fact, when I spoke here in this state in April, they sent a mole and an infiltrator to record my talk and file a motion down in Arkansas. I was retained by the mother of Hunter Biden's child in an Arkansas child support case. And they put a motion forward that I disclosed sealed financial information. It was total BS, and the judge denied it. But I'm always cognizant that there could be people, recording and secretly trying to gotcha, because really they don't know what to do with us at this point. Notice that they haven't sued New York Post, the Daily Mail, all these other organizations with huge budgets and resources. No, they're just suing this little group of a dozen guys who put together this massive document. And the reason why we did was because so much of the public reporting is on the degeneracy of it, right? And the fact that he recorded this stuff. But what we were really interested in was the verifiable criminality. So what this report goes through is 459 violations of state and federal laws and regulations. So what do I mean by that? The Bidens committed the lion's share of the crimes. We have them on 311 out of 459. But the crimes run the gamut. So it's broken up into 3 sections: business-related crimes, sex-related crimes, and drug-related crimes. And the reason why we did it in that order, and it's deliberate, was because we think that that's the order of importance. Not every single person in the United States, even if they oppose personally human trafficking or crack cocaine trafficking, they're not going to care about the sex and drug crimes. A lot of people do. I do. I'm sure a lot of you do. But every single American, no matter what background and comportment they have, they should care about the business-related crimes. Because what's going on, sending the billions to Ukraine, Joey not even mentioning Chinese IP theft. We're getting economically raped by China right now. We have no clue what's happening. The trade deficits have never been greater, and he doesn't even talk about it. That's never even on the docket. You know, there was a video making fun of my former boss's boss, Trump, about how he just kept saying China. I'm sure you've seen this video on China, where he says China, China, China like 90 times. And obviously it's a montage. But guess what? You may make fun of him, but at least he's talking about something that matters. The U.S.'s relationship with the Chi-Coms is probably top 5 most important issues in the 21st century. In 2300, they're going to be looking back and seeing what we did with that single issue. So, why Marco Polo? Why are we called Marco Polo? It's not just because we wanted to be cute and clever. It's because Marco Polo was a Venetian explorer and writer in the 15th century. And he went to the Orient and actually wrote down all this stuff for a Western audience. He described the Orient to the West for the first time. That was, you could argue, famous. And that's what we want to do. The report on the Biden laptop is talking about Chinese infiltration of the U.S. First Family. And instead of just speculations, like we had through 3.5 years of the Russian collusion delusion, we have literal wire transfers, WhatsApp messages, text messages, emails, every single digital file type that you can fathom, audio messages. Some of you have heard a situation that occurred in May of 2018 where Hunter Biden was talking to his then girlfriend / prostitute Zoe Keston in Hollywood at the Chateau Marmont, actually. And he said, "My client, the effing spy chief of China." Do you know what I'm talking about? Well, he was talking about Patrick Ho. He was literally representing a CCP agent in the U.S. It doesn't get higher than that. So whatever crocodile tears were shed by Penguin, Jerry Nadler, and all these other absolute clowns, they don't have anything with regard to hard evidence. Shifty Schiff, the pencil neck guy, he had nothing. He had no hard evidence. So, knowing my own personal limitations, I knew that I couldn't write this report alone. So I found other digital forensics people, worked with private investigators, worked with attorneys to do this in a professional way that is above board, that doesn't spread any hoaxes. There's a lot of hoaxes about what's on the device. In part, that was done because a reckless Chinese outlet called G News spread all this stuff about his Hunter's niece giving him a sexual act. That's all BS. What happened, and we laid this out for over 30 pages. What we have Hunter on with regard to his niece, because I know that's a popular topic of when I go around and talk. We have mandated reporter violations. 11 different people in and around the Bidens knew that the president's daughter-in-law was accusing the president's son of being sexually inappropriate with his 13-year-old niece. So all that we can prove, based on the contents of the device, was not that there was any inappropriate and illegal penetration. It's just that we can prove that they did not report it. And guess what? The reason why I'm bringing this up is very simple. The other son of the U.S. President, Beau Biden, who is now deceased, was the very person pushing for the mandated reporter laws when he was the AG. So he was pushing for the enactment of the law, and then when his own family was confronted with a situation where there were allegations of the exact allegations were that he was walking around naked, smoking crack, FaceTiming hookers around his 14-year-old niece. Those allegations were not brought to law enforcement. Again, these are not my words. Part of the report is we put the exhibit at the bottom of the page and then a 2 or 3 sentence narrative, right? So yes, it's 644 pages, but in total it's only about 375 of writing. There's over 2,000 footnotes. We have a bounty out for any material corrections. Anybody who can find a material correction in this gets $1,000 on the spot. And we've offered this to all of the president's henchmen, Ian Sams, Denver Riggleman, all these people that are getting on CNN and the Washington Compost. They can't find one error in it. So what do? They resort to the bottom level of ad hominem attacks, and name calling. So beyond just traveling around the country and talking about this, we sell physical copies, but the report is free to read online, and we urge everybody, before they get a physical copy, to read the report online, bidencrimes.info. It's been out there since October of 2022. We've had over 4.5 million unique IP addresses, just in America. It's many more millions abroad, but we're an America First organization. So we can definitively state that about 1% of the country has heard of us and looked at this dossier. And it's a big country, and we don't even know what the denominator is anymore, as Mike was saying, right? We have no clue how many people are here. Nobody does, to be frank. We have no clue about the official number, which is sobering. But even if it is just 330 million, the official number, we can say that 1% of America has heard of this. And again, I urge you all, and why this matters is very simple. The only thing more important than if your president is compromised by a foreign power, not necessarily a nation, could be foreign bankers, is election integrity. And that's what I was in Arkansas last night about. So it's a 1-2 punch, right? You can't just focus on election integrity and forget about who's actually running the country. But if you just focus on the Biden laptop, there's no, a lot of times when I go and talk to people, they get very angry with me. Not because they don't agree with me, but because they're expecting me to have a resolution for the clearly articulated problems and sin and crimes committed. However, the only peaceful redress of our grievances is to vote new people in, and that requires a legitimate election system, not run by companies owned by private equity firms. And remember, everything that was said today about election integrity, almost all of it was said by Amy Klobuchar and Liz Warren about 5 years ago. They all know that 5 companies control the entire country. They're all owned by blood-sucking private equity groups, and no one has a clue how they operate. Democrats said that when they thought Trump used Russians to get into the White House. Now that Joey was installed, a guy who can't even walk and talk correctly, we're supposed to believe he got 81 million legit votes. Now we can't talk about private equity companies running the election system. We don't truly know who owns Dominion voting systems. We don't truly know. We know that Staple Street Capital owns them, but we don't know who the shareholders of Staple Street Capital are, right? So this is like the Rush. I don't know what they call them, the technical term, but have you ever seen those dolls, those Russian dolls, like six in the middle? Yeah, that is what the writing of this report was like. Because if the Bidens were just like the mobsters in the 80s running their pizza parlors in Brooklyn or wherever, they would not put it through so many layers. But here, to track the payments, you have to go through 4 different shell companies, right? And their contact information necessarily isn't on the Secretary of State's website. So it's a constant game of matching. Okay, so we know that this LLC is tied to Hunter, but how can we prove, right, that his name is on the formation documents? Well, that's where the laptop comes in. So we're constantly, like everything that's going to be said this week, not everything, but a large portion of it, that's going to be said this week at the committee hearings with the 2 IRS whistleblowers, Gary Shapley and Joseph Zeigler, not related, by the way. Most of that was released in October of 22 in our dossier. In fact, I've met with both houses, the staff. I'm well aware of the incompetence of most members. And we never expected, our goal wasn't justice, right? Because we're a nonprofit group. We can't effectuate justice. Our only goal is truth. Truth is, justice is actually a higher bar than truth. Most people in the history of the world have not had a glimmer of justice. The history of the world is one of rape, pillage, chaos, and horror, right? We just happen to live in a time and a place where we even can pursue justice and effectuate it. So we have no, some people are like, well, are you expecting this report to take down the Bidens? No. But what we are doing is pulling back the curtain and showing what the